Good morning, everybody. Please let us know if you can hear and see us clearly.
Good morning.
Why does this thing get so dark? I tell you, every time we start, it starts doing something weird. Weird, weird. Weird, weird, weird. Look at that.
That's
Just,
pretty.
no, it's not. It's a funny looking color and everything. Yeah, now it's all right. See?
What'd you do?
Nothing. Ah, started off with a bang. Hey, everybody. Glad you're here today.
Okay.
Hope you're enjoying your hot weekend here in the Carolinas. I don't know where it is, where you are, but I tell you, it's hot around here.
Brother Joe and Sandra and
James Dixon's first.
James
And then there's
Dixon.
my sissy and my brother-in-law. Hey, guys. And then there's Vern. Hey, Dee Dee and George. Sandra, hello. Joe, hello. Yeah. There's Sister Sharon. I've been thinking about you lately, young lady. Maybe I need to call you just to see what's up. Marvita's in the house, all the way from where are you at now, Marvita? Let us know, sweetie. You're not in Wisconsin, are you? I know that's where you used to live, but
John Grayson is
let
there.
me know where you are. Pastor Norman. Hello there. John Greason's in the house. Jill's in the house. Are you in Atlanta, Jill? And then there's Phyllis and Edward. Yeah, thank you for letting me know. Thank you guys for letting me know. You can see and hear us. Good.
You can't see me. I'm invisible.
There's still a funny color on our screen. But anyway, hey Kim. Hey Brand. And Brother Blue and the family. Yeah. Israel's with us today. Hey Israel. And then Marvita says she's in Texas. Yeah, that's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember.
Okay.
And Jill said it's hot where she is too.
It's hot over here.
She's in Atlanta.
Kind of stuffy this morning.
Kind of stuffy. I don't know what's going on with my camera, but anyway, we don't care. Look, before we get started, I wanted to let you guys know again about the breakfast birthday celebration with me for my birthday. It's coming up on the 28th of July, and the breakfast is set for Saturday the 29th, okay, at 10:30. We had a young lady yesterday went over there looking for us and we weren't there. Look, guys, please let me know. If you have already responded, don't do it. But if you haven't, I need you to do it. And I want to make it real easy for you because some of you, I think, are intimidated by having to fill out a form or whatever. So do this for me. Just put it on, send me an email to lifecentercornerstone@gmail.com, letting me know that you want to be there. And if you plan to bring anybody with you, I need to know by the end of this week. So by Friday, I need to know something. Okay? Actually, I need it today, but if you can't do it today, I understand. But we're trying to get a final count. And we know some of you guys may decide at the last minute, but if you can decide now, that would help. That's going to be on the 29th at Saturday morning at 10:30. Going to be at Mimi's Cafe. I'm so excited about it because I'm going to see all you guys that I haven't seen in a long time. And it's going to be great just to hug your necks and talk to you and laugh and cut up a little bit like we always do. So that's that. So I want you to email me again at lifecentercornerstone@gmail.com. Only if you haven't already, okay? Very well. Very good. All right, let's do our affirmation, Jenna. Your ear bothering you today?
Mm-hmm.
We walked just a little teeny bit. I mean, teeny bit, because it was so hot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Let's do our affirmation, meditation.
Yeah, it was.
Prayer, whatever you want to call it. Good morning, Debbie Ross, and then good morning, David. Good morning. I'm glad you guys are here. And I know there are some of you watching who are not commenting. And it makes us feel good though to know you're there. So
Yeah.
if you don't mind, comment and let us know you're here and where you're coming in from if you're not in this local
Appreciate you
area.
joining in with us this morning.
Okay. All right, let's center in. Get my chair right. Now, if you're around a lot of people or if you have a lot of stuff going on around you, I know you probably can't uh, eliminate all of the distractions, but if you can, it would be great to just center in and get still and get quiet. You can repeat this after me, or you can simply listen, whichever is easiest for you. Good morning, CJ. Good morning, Sister Chris and Kevin and Sister Evelyn. They're all there with you. Good, good. So if you would, let's find ourselves at our core. We're going to do that by abandoning the senses, the five senses, what I see, what I hear, what I feel, what I smell, what I touch. I'm going to abandon those things and do just like I said before. Leave your mind outside if you can, and that simply is done by dropping the concern of whatever is on your mind. It's at the forefront of your mind. Drop that for a moment, just for a little bit, and you pick it up when we get done. Let go of your concerns. Let go of strong desires that you might have right now. Just drop all of that. And what even you hope will happen in this session, let that go as well. And we're going to just find ourselves at our core. All right. I stand without covering in the rain of God's love without defense. I am experiencing absolute acceptance and freedom from having to perform. I fearlessly face the truth about myself and God. My eye is single, and the lens of conditioning is being removed. I am beginning to see everything as it really is, without the filter of human perception. I am comfortable with being who I am at this moment. I am experiencing the peace that goes beyond my mind and my feelings. I fully open my heart to the love of God in reckless abandon and devotion. I found grace to endure and accept what is without complaining. Everything that happens is supposed to happen for my evolution. All that I need flows to me from the abundance of the universe. I surrender and give to God all that I am afraid to lose. There is nothing that is hopeless, for there is an abundance of mercy for everyone. I allow myself to be vulnerable so that I may be possessed by love. I am filled with the consciousness of Christ.
Mm.
And so it is. And so it is. Good morning, Caroline. I think that's who
Caroline.
Ariana Broadnax is. Thank you, sweetheart, for being with us today. You got something on your plate today that's good.
Yeah,
You got your dirty hat on.
you know one can tell.
He says I'm the only one can tell. I hope that's true.
Okay. Wake it up to your true self. Now, this may be a little radical for those of us who've been conditioned. And good morning,
Good morning.
good afternoon, good evening. And if I don't see you anymore, good night. But here it is. We were taught from the left brain study and investigating into how to walk with God and how to get the power of God to work through us through preaching and doing like what we read in the scriptures. But in the mystical point of view, there are other ways that you can have the manifestations of the Spirit, which a lot of the sages don't talk about, which is no problem. But this is the way that we came. This is the way. So we set out to find out if we were called to preach, and if we were, we find out what office we stand in. We call the female prophetess, we call them prophets, which is a male gender terminology. The female is prophetess. We learn all this. Cannot be ordained unless you go through the camp crusaders or the leaders or the masters or the bishop or the elders or whatever. You go through a test, you got to name all the scriptures, all the Bible and all that kind of stuff. Maybe not scripture, but the Bible. And you're ruled under the council of bishops and things like that. Now, it took me a long time to be able to get into these qualifications until finally I asked around and asked them to ordain me. They gave me temporary license, and every year I had to go back and renew them. But like going from one class to another. And I never ever did get the ordination until I ran across a dean and a pastor in Lower South Carolina, whom I was not under watch care like some folks say in church. And I'm saying all these things because I found out that they're not necessary, but only if you see them to be necessary. So I went through all of this and I still did not get it. And the way they determined that I was called to preach during the time, we would have testimony services and I would stand up. And all of a sudden, this unction that they symbol or sense by sound of talking that I was called to preach, they began to put me into a Sunday night service and preach. They call it evangelistic night, where different speakers would speak in the congregation. And the bishop decided that I was ready to be ordained. And another reason why, because we were going to people's houses and visiting. So and praying for them. They decided that I had to have some license or credentials to verify my calling, and I was connected to a church. Well, it went on then that we moved into a prophetic area of a pastor who also gave us temporary paperwork. And during that time, there was a lot of activity on the streets in the city of Winston-Salem where preachers began to sit out in front of stores to preach the gospel. And the managers and the owners of the stores in town did not agree with this because they felt that religious-wise they were disturbing their business. So these young guys had to go to the courthouse and get licensed to preach on the street. A lot of them were preaching in front of the post office, and I thought maybe that was one of my things that I had to do in order to blend in with everybody else. I tried it, but it just didn't work. I could do it, but it didn't work. And what I did, I watched them do it, and I just went behind and patted them, just like a child would pattern what a father or mother say uh, in a grown folks conversation. As it went on, I began to seek God about the gifts of the Spirit and how to have the healing power come through to heal people. I travailed, I wept and cried, and I saw so many people suffering. And when I would go to services, that would be the main purpose. I studied the different ones that who had these abilities and was successful in a lot of them. And I talked to them on the phone, and some I visit and travel to see personally. Some of the things they told me behind closed doors was what they wouldn't tell everybody else uh, because they were doing some things that was not right or wrong, but they were housing or holding what they would think would be the mystery, the secret of to the key to the healing power. So we did also a lot of praying in people's homes when we would go eat dinner with some of the pastors and the families. We'd always pray before we'd always pray before we ate meal or when we come in the house. You're gonna either pray before we eat or pray before you go out that door. And that was just a tradition that we had. And I ended up seeing a lot of miracles and healing, along with a lot of opposition and controversial things because I was doing things that the rest of them was trying to do, but they couldn't do. They didn't, and I just went after that. Very aggressive. Or was that in the doing self. But when I've found out this is really something that I could, and nobody told me this. I had to see it by the Spirit of God, by revelation, insight. That when Jesus in Galatians 2:20 was crucified based on the events of the book, I found out that we, all of us in the universe, co-identified, and he took what we call the old man or the old patterns and conditions self, nailed it to the cross. And then I also saw by sight, revelation, and knowing that when Jesus was dragging that cross, I saw tagging behind him was the Luciferian principle and what we would call during that time Lucifer or Satan. And I looked into the spirit world and I saw him like a wild cat dragging and scraping and pulling the knot to go to the cross. I saw the Roman soldiers nail Jesus' hands to the post, and the darkness of every one of us under the disguise of the ego and the demon powers. They would die. They died with him. The big lie is that they didn't. But I do know this. I saw in the hands of many people, and we witnessed it, people that was getting free from what we call deliverance and demon power. My wife had the revelation to put her hand over one of those things' eyes, face, while they were laying in the floor, and one of them inside of a person started screaming to the top of their voice. By inside revelation, the question was asked, "What are you screaming for?" They said they could see in our hands the nails that went through Jesus' hand was also the same scars that was in our hand based on the Bible, Galatians 2:20. The scars that he had on his head from the crown of thorns pushed down, we also have them. The 39 stripes that was put on his back, I had a chance to go to the back side of the cross and look, and I saw the back side of myself standing down at the foot of the cross, looking back. I deliberately walked behind it and looked. This is by revelation and insight. And those scars, 39 stripes, was on my back. The scars that was in his feet that was nailed, I looked and it was in mine. Now this was we were young in our 20s, and all of this stuff began to be revealed to us, not by going to church, not by somebody praying for us, not somebody doing anything. And then finally, as time went on, it took us up to this point 53, 54 years to understand this. And it was slow because we had to go through all the ranks of the religious, spirituality, the travels, the hunger, the thirsting, and desiring to see everything manifested in our life that was manifested in Jesus, and we saw it. We saw it. We had it to happen. But then when I come across this information about union with Christ, we both, it began to reveal something about how it was like a brake was put on that had been dragging all through the hills and the valleys of people. We preached in the mountains, we preached in different cities, all from Detroit, all the way around through DC, Jersey, California, you name it. We traveled. Milwaukee, I mean, constantly. We met some of the most amazing people, but we was bookish, which is no wrong in it. I'm just using terms, okay? When I found out what it meant to wake up to the truth behind our eternal self, from the prodigal son all the way through the rich man and Lazarus in the 11th chapter of John, Luke, 11th chapter Luke. I thought that in order to qualify to be a real preacher, you had to be able to quote. When you were talking, you had to be able to come up with a scripture for everything. But in my case, instead of coming up with a scripture, I came up with an experience of seeing Jesus in person. So the way we came, I have no problem. We don't have any problem trying to figure out whether he was a good old boy or a good old Joe the plumber. We found out that Jesus was everything. And every name that I see on this screen here, I found out who you were. I found out who we all are in names, using the name as a cloaking device, like the name Jesus was a cloaking device to reveal, to be used in the physical sense. But behind the name Jesus was the eternal Christ. And behind every one of us is that same eternal Christ. One of the amazing mysteries that I found out is that when this prodigal son left his father and his brothers and went out and did his thing, he was no more, no less a son of his father. And because he left, we would call it backslide, but I don't pay no attention to that anymore. When he left and went out there, not anything changed in his eternal essence. That has been one of the most amazing knowing experiences. I saw salvation present itself beyond all that I learned for 40, 50 years. I learned. And I saw all of it thrown into a, what you call that thing in the sink, that garbage disposal. If you have to use it, that's your business. I'm just giving you a personal testimony this morning, and you probably have heard me say it, but it bears repeating itself because in my writing, the state that you have come to in waking up will eventually bring you to where you won't have to do the things that I did or you've been doing to get a response from God. You know, we fasted and prayed and see if we can't bend God's arm and move him. Then I found out that God was already moved. When we step, he stepped. Walk, he walked. Yeah, but what about all those bad habits? What about all of the sin that Jesus died for? What he went to the cross for is to fix it so that we could see the whole truth of our true identity. Now, some of us are locked into the hypnosis and a trance that everybody has to go through in this world. Every trans state person in this dimension don't go as far enough to go to church, get into the denomination, and get into the spirituality Bible study. Most of the people that are in the book will fuss with you and will kill you if you don't say it like the book. That will cause a division amongst people or beings who say they love you, but they will cut you down to the quick of the bone if you don't go according to the bishops and the elders. There's a song that said, "Where's the love?" That love that says, if you don't say it the way I say it, we will excommunicate you, is a false love. I had a chance to see the love, the real love. I gave up the false, but it's been a gruesome, heartbreaking, painful spiritual walk. That if you're not careful with it, it will make you turn bitter against church people, and you don't want that. I saw husbands and wives who've been saved and they go to church. They act like they ain't never had no argument, but when they get out, I've heard the wife tell the husband, "I can't stand you." I was in their house when I heard it, but when they come out the door, they put on a false face. It's like somebody working in the bank and they so sweet every time you see them. But if you was to go into the lounge where they relax, you hear some things. I had a chance to go into a teacher's lounge in school one time, and they don't allow students to go in the 7th, 8th grade, but I went because I was working with a teacher that wanted me to clean up her classroom and then want the janitor to come in. I did it personally for her, and she paid me. No hanky panky. That was during the time before I ever got saved. I had a chance to go in there. I saw some things in that break room. I'm gonna tell you the truth that make Superman stop flying. But anyway, no judgments. I'm saying this to you because I just read waking up to a state that you don't have to do anything or look for God ever again. You don't have to say or not say God was in this and God was not in this. Mm-hmm. The more you try to control your mind and try to make it come to that state of pleasing God and pleasing heaven, the ego will move you further and further away from the experience.
Yeah, it will.
Okay, I'm gonna stop and let you say something.
No,
okay, you good?
I mean, I'll jump in whenever. Okay. You're.
No more church gymnastics on how to be a real Christian. I rest my case.
And I have to add that some are not interested in being a real Christian.
Oh, I know, but I'm just telling you where we came,
yes,
and what we saw.
Yes.
And some that are not interested in being a good Christian, it may be good for you to see what it's like, to see the struggle that these people are going through to get and to find that God. I'm talking about you get up in the morning, you got to go soul winning. You feel obligated to do this.
There's so many rituals.
Yeah. And if you don't do it.
But you know what I've noticed? That that is everyone trying to find their way home.
Yeah.
Um, it's not a very effective way. Some tend to get closer to the truth through their devotion to Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
because they have if they have a very very strong devotion, uh, where they spend time communing and time alone and time in stillness, even if they follow the Christian rituals, they tend to have a deeper relationship, and they tend to move more from the heart, even when they're within the confines of religion. So it isn't really about whether they're Christian or not Christian. They're, those who are in the Christian religion still put God at a distance. Even when we accept Jesus Christ or receive the Holy Spirit, we still have the perception and the uh, belief that we are separate.
Mm-hmm.
For those of us who have come into the truth that there is no such thing as separation, our relationship with God has changed in the sense that we don't look
Mm-hmm.
or seek for what we used to seek for as the presence of God to be felt.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something you have to feel. Once your heart and your mind opens to the oneness that there is absolutely, and that separation belief collapses, there's no more seeking for God outside yourself or even in yourself. You actually settle the fact. And it's not, and I heard Pastor Norman say this, it's not about I I believe this or I feel this. It's about I know this.
Mm-hmm.
I simply know this. And living in your knowing is a totally different realm than living in the realm of belief.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely different than the realm of belief. Even some who are not churched, who haven't gone through the Christian religion, are still in the land of belief because they've read certain things or heard certain things from other sacred texts other than the Bible, possibly. And they have this period of, I believe what I've read. And so they embrace it, but that still is not beyond the land of belief. There's still not a true knowing. And so they tend to quote what they've read, and very seldom are they able to speak authentically from what they know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a right or a wrong, but I've just noticed that is usually the experience that they've presented. So Marvita said this. She says there is so much freedom in having an authentic relationship with the Most High God. The liberation in knowing that we are already connected to God. We are all individual expressions of God. Yes. And even Marvita, I want to see if we can take another leap even in what you said. Yes, we all are already connected to God, but there is a place beyond connection.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm. Because even in connections to God, you may feel at some point in your senses and in your feelings and your thinking that you're disconnected. So we're talking about, let's take a leap even beyond that, because there is no possible way to be disconnected.
Never have been.
Never have been, but we thought we were.
Yeah. That thought is not enough for separation. Sin is not in our definition of it. The definition of for us now,
Yeah.
the sin of something believing that we have disconnected from God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sin like we didn't come from heaven. We came from our mothers and fathers. Sin, misplaced identity
Mm-hmm.
that gives us the idea that I'm not connected to God in heaven until
Yeah.
I get saved.
Yes. And
That is so.
yes, and
Mm-mm,
even on a daily practical level, I'm not connected to God unless I feel something that makes me feel like there the peace or the contentment or what we call the presence of God, which
mm-hmm,
I remember now thinking about the presence of God. It was simply a state where I was altered or moved beyond what I was feeling every day.
mm-hmm.
Uh, a good feeling. It was a good feeling. Some people in the church, when they would call it getting happy.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah, that's
so
good.
so it's that getting happy feeling. If you run after that, thinking that's God, and that's just the senses coming into a place, or the emotions coming into a place of believing that God is there. But when you're living in your knowing, you don't even have to have that. And I remember when Jesus said this in the scriptures, if the narrative is true, he said that the an evil generation, a wicked generation, seeks a sign. So
Mhm.
you are not of that wicked generation that's constantly looking for a sign that God is present.
An atheist, or one that says that there is no God, the worst that could be said to downgrade religion or God in any way. Hold on now. Hold your seat, because here it comes. I'm not talking about reading and studying. I'm talking about what I found out directly from source.
Through your own self realization and self discoveries.
God
Yes.
is in them in spite of what the church and us religion has said. He in the book will show you what I'm talking about is true. How many people have read the Bible and overlooked this case where it said at Jesus' crucifixion, there was a place in there between the crucifixion and his resurrection. It said the graves of the saints, the grave opened up, and people that was in the tomb dead, body dead. Dead as 3 day old beer. They came out of the tomb at his resurrection.
Mhm.
Based on the way I've been in church and with people, I very seldom heard that preached. They stay away from it. Just recently, in the years that passed, I heard some of them say about co-identity with crucifixion and resurrection
Yeah.
with him. Do you know we were taught about being ancestors and in the blood of Jesus, and that we all, as believers, are connected to him? And that didn't come out until one of the famous faith teachers began to preach about that. And they use that to capture people. Please listen. I can't. I'm not interested in trying to prove to you whether what I said is true or not. All I know is that I had experienced to really see the real Christ inside of everybody I met and going to meet. I had a 6 year old little boy tell me at Miss Rondo's barbershop. I said to him, I remember you in heaven. We met before in heaven. I remember you in heaven. He said, he turned, and everybody in the barbershop heard him. He said, I remember you too. Have I not been so long this child and you've not known it? I met a lot of children over the time that I've been into this that talk to me from a direct verbal connection with Jesus Christ, God, on the other side. They didn't know. They're just children. They don't know, but I could hear it in their voice.
Hmm.
I heard God speak to me the other day through a lady's voice on Amazon. I heard her say some of the things that I had seen and heard in the council room. She told me she didn't know nothing about it,
Right.
but I did. I
Yeah.
heard it.
Yeah.
They don't teach you how to use the ear of God. Mm. Or not use, but function or to recognize
Mm.
the eternal hearing of God in your middle ear.
Right.
Lord have mercy. Glory. Baby girl just got up and run to the door barking. She heard something that our ears didn't hear.
Yeah.
She can locate things through her smell. Why should a dog, an animal, have these abilities? With just being this, with just being this more than we do. I asked the question, I investigate into it. And with the same ability that that dog have is our ability also. I had a chance to walk in heaven and in the clouds. I took 3 steps and didn't have to move. I saw the measurement of the distance where I was standing in my feet, in my spirit body. It measured 1,000 miles with 3 steps that never took place. I don't understand the mystery behind it, but I saw it. Give it a shot. I just took a shot. Okay. If God is inside of us, why do we pray to Him like He's not inside of us? Waking up is moving all space. Oh, God, here you go. Waking up is removing all distance, space between us and God by revelation, revealing Himself as no longer being in the way or out of the way. We are talking to ourselves in our true identity. At this conversation we're having now, God is listening and speaking. We think that if He's going to speak something, it's got to be thundering and lightning and flashes of fire and earthquakes. And this normal conversation that Jesus had with Peter, the question was asked, who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? Peter said, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. Jesus said, flesh and blood have not revealed it unto you, but my Father which is in heaven. Well, evidently, heaven must have been inside of Peter because that's where it came from.
Yeah.
So now, wake up. It's time to eat breakfast. Wake up. It's time for you to return home and never leave the house. Hot dog. Now, we wake up to all the truth about God and our beingness. Once this thing settles in on you, it settles real good. You gonna hear yourself saying, Lord Jesus, I come to you the most honest way I know how. Then you're gonna stop saying, hey, that don't make no sense. That don't make no sense. Everybody said, well, if it don't make sense, it ain't right. Well, this don't make no sense, and it is right. But it's not a rightness that determines that somebody is wrong in order for it to be truth. All I can say to you, somebody asks me, say, how do you do this? Investigation. But in order to investigate, you got to take off these old shoes and say, put on your traveling shoes. There's a song about that. How did that song go? You remember how it goes? Lord, I'm ready to see you. I'm ready to see the truth. I give up the old Christ and I find myself investigating into the real Christ.
Now, can I read something?
Go ahead and help yourself, baby.
And this is from some of your previous notes
Yeah.
that we've had for years. But it says this: when you decide to go after the infinite self, angels, energy, special powers start helping to guide you
I remember that.
through your intuition and call it what you want. They start helping you find the truth.
We can write a book on that one.
And this is light. An invisible power clicks in to join you, to take you all the way into the infinite self.
Yeah.
And when it says take you into, it's talking about taking your awareness into it.
Yes.
They know that you are who you are and start to show up in the intuition to help you. You wrote that years ago. I mean, you wrote it and I typed it out.
Something.
Yes.
You used to do that a lot.
Yeah. And that they bring you to an inward and outward process in the earth and events to make sure you get clear information about the truth.
What if I told you that there's not a man, woman, or child on earth that's here that didn't come from God?
Right.
So there's no such thing as, I didn't know God until I got saved. I didn't know God until I received the Holy Ghost. I didn't know God until I repented of my sin. Sweetheart, I respect your humility. But Jeremiah 1:5 said, before you were formed in the belly, he knew you. You're just saying what you heard somebody else say. Wake up now. Come on, let's go. Let's return back home. There's no place like home. There's no place like entering into the rest. It happened by default, but everything that happened by default, God will use it as an asset to wake you up to the fact that you never left home. I rest my case. I rested. There is something about your presence that has always been with God, but you didn't know it. And you know, there's some people who got saved and said, well, it's like joining a club, you know. I'm no longer part of that club because I don't go to it anymore. I used to work here, but I don't work there no more. So I lost all my benefits. Your benefits of the fact that you are an eternal essence and being of God, your benefits has never stopped. The lie is that they stopped because something about your thinking head and your lifestyle gave off a big blowing lie ideal that you lost your benefits because you no longer, your mind no longer thinking and no longer believe that I really didn't know I was connected to God until I found out I was never disconnected. Well, then you're going to understand what it means to talk in first person. And talking in first person is what we're doing now. We're not waiting to see, it just came to me. I won't mention it. Do you know we have been conditioned and trained to wait on God and pray and wait on God and seek God until you get an answer? But most of the answers that I found out is what I'm made out of. And so what I do, I just go. If I got to go to the store, I just go. If I want to go riding, I just go. If I got the money to pay gas to go out of town, I just go. And you know what the book said? As he went, people got healed. As he went, he wasn't standing in one spot in Jerusalem say, Lord, tell me which way to go. Do I need to ride a horse, a mule, or a donkey? Do I need to take 3 people with me? Do I need to find out from you, am I in the right place? Airplane is no good until they start moving. In the meantime, if it's not moving, people just sitting in there waiting. Well, what potential the airplane got is not distributed and manifested until the wheels start turning. Hot dog. I like that with lettuce and tomatoes. So when the plane started rolling, you look out the window. Well, I remember the first time we was in the plane in our honeymoon after we got married. We went to Pittsburgh to Catherine Kuhlman Miracle Service, and that was our honeymoon, the best William Penn Motel. We looked out to that plane, and it was amazing that you and I were sitting on. Never been on a plane, never rode in a cab in Pittsburgh. But because we didn't understand where the place was, the cab driver went all around the world to get us to that place in order to charge us extra.
Yeah, we were only maybe a couple blocks from the hotel.
That's right. He went around. Well, we found out.
Because that's what happens to a lot of us in our spiritual walk.
Yeah, you know that's true.
The thing that we actually are desiring is only a couple of blocks away, but our ego takes us all around the world because it doesn't want to get to the destination.
Are we seeing anything out there? I know we are, but I want you to talk to me now.
Well, I hadn't said much today.
I know you haven't.
Because I know you had quite a bit you wanted to say.
I do, and I haven't. I will never get to the end. If I had some experiences this week that I'll come back and talk to you about it later.
Why you didn't talk about it today?
That's what you're waiting on.
I was waiting to see what you were going to do with it. Because I think that's what you were supposed to talk about.
Okay.
Well, you only got 7 minutes now. Go ahead. What you gonna say?
I heard myself talking in my sleep this week, 3 or 4 days ago. I don't know how long it was. There was a brother that was a good friend of her family and was connected to my wife's family. His family was married to a member of her family. And this week, I knew him personally. We went to his house, and he helped me out with the guitar music, and we played together. But he had a fetish for women, just out of the world. And I knew some of the things that he had done, and some of the ladies had come to me and told me that he did some of these things. But it didn't ruin our relationship. We stayed together. I just didn't agree with what he did. But anyway, this week I had a chance to go on the other side. And you may have to help me later on. I'll come back and say some more to it later. But I saw him on the other side.
Yeah, I'm wondering what you're gonna tell about, because
I saw him in a school.
Yeah, I know that.
And while I was watching myself in a remote view and in school, I saw a lot of the family members of hers and mine over there. And I heard the Lord say to me in a remote viewing experience, sitting at a place with this guy, this man. And Jesus said to me personally, everything that this man had ever done is forgiven. And I realized that I was taken to the school of forgiveness. I never thought that there was a place in the spirit world where some of us will go to understand that we came over here to this dream world, as some say, to find out what is the true meaning of eternal forgiveness. I can't go into the details of it because some of it has faded away from it, but I remember Jesus telling me. And when he said that to me, I felt the frequency of the wave of eternal forgiveness go all over the universe. I saw some people there that was so mean that I'd have raised up with, and he said, that includes them. He said, I forgive them because of what I am. God is eternal forgiveness. Jesus displayed a forgiveness that cannot change because somebody don't accept it. That forgiveness he spoke to this man that I knew over there. I was standing there. I was right there. I was looking at it. I was there in person. I saw it. I heard it. He said, I forgive him for everything that he did. And it was only then that this young man could move on, because what was blocking him was that he found out that he had done these things somewhat in a past life review, and he didn't think that he could move on. But Jesus freed him from that
Mhm.
with his personal manifestation of his real self to this young man. And I heard it. I was there watching it. I saw it take place. We'll stop there. And when we come back, it won't leave me. We'll talk again on Tuesday night. And we'll be with you again on Thursday afternoon. But I heard Jesus tell this man, and I saw all the things that he did. He said, I have forgiven him for every one of those things that he did. And before he died, I had one of the ladies, my wife, and I come to my church and tell me what he did to her personally. That based on us, he was not qualified to go to heaven by the way he what he did. He was married and still did this, but Jesus forgave him in the eternal school of eternal forgiveness that Jesus Christ was made out of. So God cannot lie because He's truth. He cannot. He cannot not forgive because He is eternal forgiveness.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to share that a little bit, and we'll stop right there. Okay.
Okay. And let me put up here how to give. I think Jill's already put that in the comment section, but I want to put it up again just so that those of you who may not have seen that, you'll know what to do. And you can, of course, give by texting to CLC Greensboro to 73256, or you can go to the website, and that's the way I always do it. Just go directly to the website and click on the donate button. It's really simple. By the way, I want to thank all of you who sent monies in to Pastor and myself through Cash App, and a couple of you did it through Zelle, which I haven't posted how to do it through Zelle. But I need to do that so that you guys can send it to us directly. But we thank you, those of you who did send us some cash apps and things like that. And of course, you can cash app to us at $A or you can do paypal.me/ACE Sawyer 72. And I wanted to mention again about my birthday that's coming up. It will be on July the 29th that we're doing the celebration. It's a breakfast for that where we can all get together, and it's at Mimi's Cafe. It's going to be at 10:30. So I'm praying that you guys will be able to come and join me in that. Also, if you want to be there and you haven't responded already, we need a head count. So I need you guys to um, send us an email. Just send us an email to let us know. If you haven't already responded, send us an email, and then we can know that you're going to be there. This is the email, okay? Just send us an email and say, I'm coming. Or if you're going to bring somebody with you, put on there how many you're going to bring with you, okay? We appreciate everything you've done and said. Thank you. And we're going to be back on Tuesday, as Pastor said, and Thursday for impromptu at 12:30. And then again on Sunday. So look, you all have a really safe holiday.
Please do.
I think Tuesday is the 4th, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me. So Tuesday is the 4th. Just be careful, be safe out there, and have fun. All right. I don't know about all this haze. This stuff is something in the air, but be careful. You might not want to hang outside a lot because of the smoke that's in the air. It's not good for you, but do what you can to have a good time, and we'll see you the next time. Okay.
Until then.
Bye bye.